On page 157, we're going to start talking about the average monthly expenditures. Okay? What's the word average mean?
A bunch of stuff added up, divided by something.
A bunch of stuff added up and divided by something. Okay, that's actually not too far off. All right? Average means that you take so many months in a row and divide them by how many months it is, and then you put that in our budget. Our budget sheet, for instance, for us, we still have one. We don't put in there exactly how much it is because obviously things fluctuate. Our cell phone bill, is it the same every month? Maybe, unless we go over. Okay, or is our heating and electricity the same every month? No. So a lot of times we put an average number in that space, so that way we know it should be around that number. Okay? So, 157. It says, you may write things down in order to remember them tomorrow morning or the next week. Think of utilizing the same memory device and applying it to your money. Record keeping is a way for you to manage your money. It involves keeping track of items you spend on, or your expenditures, during a period of time. The tool you use is a budget sheet on which you record your expenses, usually on a monthly basis. By budgeting, you can find out how much you have spent your money on and how much money you'll need for living expenses. These include food, utility bills, and pocket money. Record your expenditures on a notepad or computer spreadsheet on the day you make them. At the end of the day, you'll have a record of what you've spent. Then at the end of the month, group them and total them, and you can calculate your average monthly expenditures. Okay, and this is something that we do. We do it twice a month because we both get paid halfway through and then at the end. So we do the same thing. At the end of it, then we can figure out, and like I was telling Rylan this morning, we can figure out how much we're over, so we can put some extra money in our savings account, or how much we're short, so that way we have to borrow from that savings account. Okay? The formula, though, that we're going to use says average monthly expenditure. And what you do is you sum. What's sum mean? Add, right? So sum of the monthly expenditures divided by the number of months. Okay? So typically speaking, when you're going to do this, you're not going to do it after 1 month. You're going to do it probably after 3 or 4, just so that way you get an idea of what the average is that you normally spend over that time spent. Then every so often, double check it, recheck it, because all of a sudden if you're spending more than what you were budgeting for, you're not going to have any money left over, or you're going to be short for bills. Okay? With this information, you can make a budget, which is a plan for using the money in a way that best meets your wants and needs. What's a need? Water. What else? Food. Shelter. Hey, what's a want?
Phone.
Car, phone. Depending on what type of phone, you should probably have some kind of phone. But having a smartphone necessarily isn't. I actually saw somebody with a flip phone the other day. Okay, but some people still have those. All right, so if you turn the page to page 158, just to kind of walk you through what they have on there. They have that person's July, August, and September histories on there. What's a mortgage loan? What does it mean when they say mortgage? House. That's your house payment. Okay? Then it goes groceries, electricity, dentist, phone/internet, gasoline, water, sewer, credit cards, baseball game, gift, clothing, car loan, car repair, and the total. And then the same thing the next month, with the exception of some might be taken out and some might be added in. On number 1, it says, compute the average monthly expenditures for the following, and it says credit cards. So, for the month of July, how much money was spent on credit cards? $121 and 74 cents. How about for August? 298 point what? 65. And September. 171.20. 20. Okay. Are those the only 3 credit card payments that person made?
And these months.
On these months, right. That's what I'm asking. For these months, are those the only ones? The reason why I say that is because in the past, sometimes they snuck an extra groceries in there. Like if they want you to find the average for the groceries, there might be 2 in a month rather than just 1. Okay, so be very careful. Credit cards usually are typically you only pay 1 time a month. Yep, we're just looking at the chart. So after I figured out which ones we had, add those 3 numbers together, what do you get?
$591.3.
Are you sure?
Not really, now that the notes are changed.
I'm not changing anything, I'm just adding.
That's what I meant.
Okay.
591.
Okay. So we're close. We're just off a little bit on the change. So 591.67 is my total, right? But it's over how many months did we do this for? 3. So now, in order to find the average, divide by 3. And what's 591.67 divided by 3? 197 and 22 cents. Number 2, groceries. For July, how many times did we spend on, or how much money did we spend on groceries?
275.
Was that the only one?
Yes.
Okay, how about August? Was that the only one? Okay, what about September? 285 point what? Was there any other ones? No? Okay. Now again, with this, just so that you guys are aware of it, sometimes they might sneak another one in there somewhere. Me personally, when we do this, we might list down every time we go to the grocery store, which is once a week. That's how many times we go to the grocery store. We don't list it out per month like that. We list it out every time we go on ours. So adding them together, what do I get? Say it again, Anna. 879 and 92 cents. And how many months are we dealing this for? 3. So what's 879 and 92 cents divided by 3? And 31 cents. Okay, number 3, home repairs. Okay, and this is where hopefully you listed it as a home repair. Sometimes you might not. Like for instance, I just had to have a home repair done on my house because our hot water heater decided not to relight. So therefore we had no hot water. Thankfully it was under warranty, but that was only for the parts, not the labor. So we had to pay labor. Okay?
Which is the expensive part.
Which is the expensive part usually. So basically I have a brand new hot water heater with minus the tank. The tank is still the same one I put in 5 years ago. But home repairs. Do we have any in the month of July? No. How about August? How much? 275 and 68 cents. How about for September? Was there any? 96.45. Anything else? No? Okay. So when I add those together, what do you get? 371 and 13 cents. Now, what number do you divide by?
2.
Oh, you divide by 3.
Still 3. Because we're averaging it out over the course of 3 months. Okay? If I just did 2, yeah, we only had it for those 2 months, but then you spread it out over the course of the entire Okay, so we're still gonna divide it by 3. What's 371 and 13 cents divided by 3?
Why is it divided by 3?
Because we're dealing with 3 months. Even though it was only showed up in 2, you spread it out. So what you do in your budget then, Colin, is you might only have 2 months that had that expenditure, but if you set that money aside, saying this is for home repairs, then that money's not gonna be a shock to you when it shows up. Okay? So if you said that average, this is what I pay for home repairs a month, set it aside, then that way when it actually does happen, you're not going, oh, where am I gonna get the $4,000 to fix my furnace? If you spread it out, it's not gonna be so bad. Okay? So what's 371.13 divided by 3?
123.71.
Okay. Again, that's all I was doing, was adding up the different pieces and dividing it by how many months we dealt with. Then on number 4, it says your average monthly expenditure for gasoline during the first quarter was $167.70. You spent $147.20 in April and $172.90 in May. How much can you spend in June to have the same average as the first quarter? Okay, so here's what they want you to tell me. When they say quarter, just so that you guys know, that's every 3 months. That's what they're telling you, okay, when they say the first quarter. It says that you spent $147.20 in April and $172.90 in May. That would mean for June, how much did you spend? And what number did it want you to actually have it equal to? The same number as the first quarter, right? What was the same number as the first quarter? How much did it tell you spent on average first? The $167.70. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to take the $147.20 plus the $172.90. What number do you get first? How much? 312? 320.1. Okay. Now, this is something that if you've ever had algebra just a little bit, we're going to undo to find the J, or find the month of June. How do you get rid of a divide by 3? You times it by 3. And what you do to one side, you got to do to the other. So we need to, wish I didn't have this case on here. We need to times this side by 3. When we times the right side by 3, those 3's cancel each other out, leaving you 320.10 cents plus some June amount equals, what's 167.70 times 3? And 10 cents? Okay, good. So we got the same thing. Now, how do I find J? Subtract 320.10 from both sides. So what is 503.10 cents minus 320.10 cents? $183 even, right? There's no change left over. So that means if I want to have the same average, I would have to spend $183 in gas for the month. Is that possible to do that? Do people spend that much on gas? Do you spend that much on gas? Depends on what you're driving. Depends on how many people are there too. Right? So besides having how much, but also how many people that's talking about. For instance, in our household, we have 2 vehicles. So filling up my wife's car costs about $35, or mine's about $55. So every 2 weeks or so, we're $90. So for a month, that's about right for us. Okay? Alright, so on 5 through 10, what they want you to do is, for part A, for most of them, is find the total. So on 5 through 10, you add those numbers across, and that gives you part A. And then you're going to divide by how many months are you dealing with on the chart. 5 months, right. Then on 9 and 10, if they give you the average, you're going to do it just like we did here on the screen. On 9 and 10, you're going to have to work backwards. Except for this time, you're not going to divide it by 3. You're going to have it divided by 5. Because there's 5 months that we're dealing with. Then on 11 through 14, it says, what do the Millers pay each month to repay their mortgage loan? The Millers are at the top of the previous page. So that top of page 158, that chart, that's the Millers' expenditures. So how much do they pay for their mortgage every month? $675. Brandon, did that change at all? No. So if you took, it is a small mortgage. Okay? My mortgage loan is about $1,100 a month. But it doesn't all go, that's one thing when you get to houses later on, it doesn't all go to just the house. It also goes, there's like $400 goes to the house, $400 goes to the interest, and $300 goes into the escrow account. Escrow pays for taxes and homeowners insurance and all that stuff you need. Yeah. And then as far as can you determine how much they save each month, why or why not, they're just asking you some questions based off of that. So, starting on page 158, I'll give you some freebies because hopefully you wrote them down. Because we did 1 through 4, didn't we? That'll be some freebies.